But bottom line is, it's just a form that parents can download from our website.
He said parents can fill that form out and send it to their school.
And that puts the school district on notice that they cannot give a child to a stranger. The staff are formally reminded students are never to be released to people like that, and this could have terrible outcomes if parents don't take the proper preventive measures. Also, for each of the 50 states is a similar opt-out form for parents. It's customized specifically for each state and gives parents the maximum protection of their children who are still enrolled in public education. Those are free forms, and they can be downloaded for free from our website, pji.org.
I'm Bronson Woodruff.
The busiest travel day of the holiday week may be over, but more than 200,000 flights are still expected to take off during what the FAA says is the biggest Thanksgiving travel period in 15 years. Ashley Strohmeyer has more.
Air travel disruptions have begun to increase around the country. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says we can all have a part in making air travel less stressful. FlightAware reports over 4,000 delays, though still not many cancellations, but that stormy weather could complicate the return trip, especially in parts of the Midwest. And some areas of Michigan's Upper Peninsula could see up to 2 feet of snow. Travelers are urged to arrive by noon Wednesday to avoid the worst from Mother Nature. And of course, if you are driving, AAA says gas is averaging just above $3 a gallon nationwide.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
AFA Action takes attacks on the family seriously. The enemies of the family constantly employ new tactics to try to sneak past our radar. They know if we stand together, their evil plans will fail. Your gift to AFA Action allows us to stay vigilant against their onslaught. And if you give this month, you'll receive access to the Cultural Institute video When Your Faith is Illegal by Frank Harbor on AFA Stream as our thanks. You can make your gift today at afaaction.net.
Welcome to Today's Issues. Join us for the next hour as we offer a Christian response to the issues of the day.
Welcome to Today's Issues. I'm coming in loud and clear this morning, Brent. I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, this is Tony Vitagliano filling in for Tim Wildmon this week. Once again, I am joined in studio by the erudite Fred Jackson.
Oh, I'm an erudite.
Erudite. That's a compliment. All these are compliments, so don't bother looking them up. They're all compliments, trust me. The unflappable Ed Vitagliano.
Listen, I'm just glad I'm not erudite. Wasn't that one of the tribes that Israel fought in the land of Canaan?
Close.
Erudites?
Yeah, we brought back Ed because he did such a great job under pressure yesterday, stepping in with the technical difficulties. We just decided to bring him back. And joining us remotely from the Orange State is the sagacious Dr. Ray Pritchard. Welcome, Ray.
You know, Tony, you called Ed unflappable. I want the world to know I'm very flappable. I'm whatever that means.
That
I'm
is not.
very flappable.
It means like calm, collective, under pressure. I guess it could also be used to describe penguins, right? Unflappable chickens.
I resemble that remark.
You know.
I think you just called your dad a penguin.
Yeah, everything was going well.
You're doing
good.
Such
Yeah.
a good start there.
A penguin and a chicken.
So, welcome, Ray.
Thank you.
Now,
Tom.
folks, tomorrow we will not be live. Obviously, we'll all be enjoying the Thanksgiving holiday with our family. But we do have a couple of specials airing over the Today's Issues slot. The first is the In Grace radio special. That'll be the first hour. And then the second one is actually from Dr. Ray Pritchard himself, titled, Can We Still Believe in Romans 8:28? Ray, could you give us just a little bit, just a tease, I guess, about what that special is about?
You know, the Bible says, in everything give thanks. And when life is going good, that's an easy command to obey. When your prayers are being answered and the good news from the doctor and your kids are doing well and all of that. But, you know, Tony, there's a lot of our listeners who, for various reasons, come to Thanksgiving with some mixed feelings because life has been difficult the last year, last few months. And so I'm just raising the question, what does it mean on Thanksgiving to say that we believe in Romans 8:28? So it will be, in the end, I hope, a great encouragement to say, Yeah, here's a hint. The answer is going to be yes. We can believe in Romans 8:28, and we're going to think together through to get to that answer tomorrow.
Can't wait for it. And tell us real quick where we can find more great teachings like this from your ministry.
Just float on the internet sea over to keepbelieving.com. Keepbelieving.com. There's sermons, there's videos, and that free Advent ebook.
Right.
It's right there on the front page. Behold the Lamb, Advent from the Gospel of John. We start our journey next Monday, Journey through John, all the way to Christmas Day.
Just flap on over there.
Just flap on.
Unless you're on Flapboard, then you'll have to take another route, another way to travel.
All right. Well, that's the last day of the nice adjective. You'll all miss it when I'm gone. You'll all miss it. You'll be just introduced as Ed, and Fred, and Ray, and you'll be like, you know what? It was nice while it lasted. So, Fred, I'm sure there are a few stories here and there. Some stuff happening in the news, probably.
Yeah, it used to be quiet during these holiday periods, but not anymore. But let's talk about what's going on out there today. Pardon me. It's I was talking to our morning anchor this morning, Rusty Pugh, and both of us were, what are we thankful for? We both were thankful that we're not traveling.
Yeah. Yep.
Honestly, our transportation secretary, Mr. Duffy, made an appeal the other day. Folks, try to be civil if you're flying. Try. Please. Of course, he also said that it helps if you dress nice. Like, don't wear your pajamas on the airplane.
Right.
And your, what do they call slippers these days? The
house shoes?
Yeah, something like that. So, so the care begins before you leave home on the flying. Kind of don't be, dress properly and think about behaving civilly. I was telling you folks before we went on the air, but watching a video on Fox this morning of some guy who was traveling on an airline. I wasn't sure what airline it was. But anyway, he was sitting next to a kid who just did not stop booting this with his shoes. All you saw was the kid's shoes. And this guy was just sitting there, and he was smiling, and he'd look over every now and then, but nothing was being done. But so traveling by plane, I think you just have to challenge. As somebody said, the airline doesn't make it always easy because they keep the seats getting smaller, and not much knee room. I feel sorry for people over 6 feet. Traveling economy these days?
Here.
Well, I was mentioning here before the show started, there's an op-ed on the New York Post, and it's by someone, Kirsten Fleming. I'm not familiar with her. But she says, Sean Duffy is right. This is the headline. We are a nation of slobs and need to get out of daytime pajamas. And I've seen, if you ever see old movies from the 40s and 50s, men, for example, wore suits when they went to the movies.
Oh, yes.
I mean, suit and tie everywhere out in public. Now, I'm not saying go back to that. I wouldn't want to. I'm in jeans right now.
Yeah.
But pajamas, that's pretty far down the list.
Oh, yeah. But today, we mentioned yesterday, was the busiest day for flying, over 52,000 flights. Today, they say, is the busiest day for road travel.
Okay, that makes sense.
Over 70 million Americans have packed their bags and are on the road today heading to grandma's place or, your mom and dad's place.
It's going to be hard to get into a
70
Buc-ee's.
million. Oh, my goodness. Can you imagine?
Buc-ee's. Thanksgiving week.
Oh, my goodness.
Buc-ee's.
They need a runway. They need a runway to just bring planes of people in.
So it's, but again, as we were saying yesterday, is just everybody, take your cool pill. And just take your time. It's arrive alive, as they say. But it's and complicating matters, especially for folks up in the north. Mm-hmm. They're talking about snow up there. Meteorologist Britta Merwin kind of went through the weather forecast for travel. And if you're living in the north, there are areas up there not too good. Cut number 2.
Let's take a snapshot of what's happening today, though. So if you are traveling, if you're not at Grandma's house just yet, we do have snow this morning in Minneapolis. That could be a big hiccup because these morning flights are going to struggle with the snow. And although the afternoon weather is improved, we're waking up to issues which can be hard to overcome. Meanwhile, the 95 corridor, we have rain moving through. The snow by far, though, is going to be the big headline. We have the first blizzard warning of the season. That is in effect for parts of northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan. We do have winter storm warnings in effect right now for Minneapolis. Eventually, Chicago is going to get into this, especially with that second storm that's going to be our hiccup for Friday into this upcoming weekend.
So there you have it. So going back to what I said a moment ago, talking with my anchor, Rusty Pugh, this morning, we're thankful we're staying home.
Yeah, well, same here.
And I would say this, too, for people who don't live in places like Chicago or Detroit, if you're flying, sometimes you still wind up going there because they're major hubs for airlines.
Yes. Cause complications if the blizzard rolls through and starts delaying flights.
Yeah,
that's good. Good encouragement, Fred. Everybody, you know what? just take a breath, take a deep breath. Those of you who we don't, thankfully, really travel much anymore around Thanksgiving. A lot of our family, as a blessing, is centralized. But those of you, loading up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids in the car, just remember to take your chill pill and be thankful.
Yeah, and seriously, we have much to be thankful for. And Pastor Robert Jeffress, pastor of First Baptist Dallas and well-known here at American Family Radio, he was on Fox this morning saying there's always something to be thankful for. Cut number 1.
Well, in 1 Thessalonians 5:18, the Apostle Paul wrote, "In all things give thanks." The Bible isn't suggesting we should be thankful for everything that happens to us, but the Bible is saying, in spite of what's happening to us, we can find something to be grateful for. Maybe some of our viewers today are concerned about the economy, and that's understandable. But if you make $75,000 a year, you are wealthier than 90% of the global population. We can thank God for that. The Bible isn't saying that thanking God regularly will erase all your problems, but what it is saying is gratitude has a way of putting our problems in perspective. And that's why today or tomorrow, Thanksgiving, ought to be not just reserved for one day a year, it ought to be a way of living. Thank God for the good things that He's doing in our lives.
Amen. Amen.
Got no complaints with that kind of preaching or teaching. We heard from Jeff Chambly, one of our staff members here, also a minister. He had our devotions this morning, and was teaching that at the foundation of thankfulness is contentment, and it's easy when lots of companies and corporations are trying to sell you things and appeal to your desire for things. It is sometimes difficult to be content with what we have, but it is a commandment, and it is a good rule of life that we should be content for the things that we do have. I always try to remind myself, I've been doing this the last several years. This didn't originate with me. Obviously, when I say what it is, people are going to recognize it. It's been around for a while, but I remind myself this is a first world problem, whatever it happens to be. They don't have the particular brand of pasta I want. Okay, that's a first world problem because I have all kinds of choices. So anyway, this is good instruction and exhortation for us. And while we do remember, we have here on our staff a lot of people who are battling sickness and disease and tragedy, and we need to also be a blessing to those people and come alongside them.
Yeah, as Christians, the source, and Jeff mentioned this in his Devo, the source of our contentment should flow from Jesus Christ,
right,
who lives within us.
Amen.
So, good encouragements.
And I bet you Ray is glad and thankful to be in Florida.
Yeah,
You
especially
know,
hearing about all the
you know.
blizzards and everything. Yeah, he's not.
I've seen those weather maps.
Not missing.
All this weather, that's all sweeping north. You know,
He just pulls up. He just pulls up Kansas City every once in a while and just laughs.
Just looks and just starts smiling. Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
It's gonna be about 80 degrees here today. It's livable.
It's
Well, you can handle that.
All right, Fred. Let's press ahead.
We'll press ahead. Hey, listen, hands up, anybody listening right now who has ordered from Amazon.
You mean ever?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of hands out there in the audience. I can just imagine. Well, maybe you've seen some of the videos of what happens sometimes when that package gets to your door. And we were talking about this in our story meeting. There's a lot of videos out there of people have found a way to put some kind of trap inside the package.
Yeah, I've seen videos where people, porch pirates, will grab something and it blows up on them.
Yes. Well, there's a headline this morning from CBS News. Apparently, the porch pirating is getting more sophisticated.
Yeah.
The headline is this: 14 arrested in Long Island porch pirate ring that allegedly sold stolen goods worldwide, authorities say. Now, I won't read all the story, but just a little bit. The suspects allegedly hacked computer systems, listen to this, folks, to find out, and they're talking about cell phones here and electronics, to find out when phones and electronics would be delivered to the homes of Verizon and AT&T customers, then sent runners to steal them. The DA said the defendants had customers' names, addresses, device types, and FedEx shipping tracking numbers. So there's a lot to this story. First of all, the hacking is getting very sophisticated, that you can get down to the point where you can find out what the tracking number is on individuals and what's being delivered. And speaking of videos, just watching a video before coming into the studio about this FedEx driver. He's delivering something to a home, and he is accosted on the street by a couple of these thieves. Broad daylight, this is happening. So it's, and the advice is that's coming from some of the authorities is keep an eye on your tracking number, and best to be home when the item arrives at your house.
Well, people don't have a lot of control over that. I mean,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
The convenience of this is that it comes to your house.
Yeah.
But now they're suggesting maybe you want to stay home until the package gets there.
Okay. I'll let my boss know. Look, I'm expecting my delivery of protein powder. I can't miss it. They're gonna steal it.
Sometime today it's supposed to come.
Look, I don't know, between 8 and 5 o'clock is the delivery window. Yeah, it's sad, but the more desperate, the worse things get. I'm not saying that these people are to be, they're not deserving of empathy. Not that the thieves are, but the worse things get, the more people are going to resort to crime, and the more sophisticated they're going to become. Now, we should elaborate that the explosives in the packages, it's just color, like just an explosion of color, right?
Powder.
Yeah. So they're no one's porch pirating the Taliban. Remember the Taliban in their house, all right? That's completely different. Although it might fix the issue. I don't know.
I get a kick out of some of these porch pirates in these videos. They get blue or red all over them.
Yeah.
And they come up to the camera, the Ring camera.
Yeah,
I'm going to sue you.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Well, listen, to your point, I will say this. This is, I think, a problem that affects younger people, because I know people who order a lot of stuff on Amazon. My wife and I don't order a whole lot. I like to see a product, and if it's clothing or whatever, touch it, hold it up, or whatever. But there are young people who order a lot of stuff from Amazon. They're good at it. This is a 1, 2, 3. It's on its way. For old folks like my wife and I, let me take that back. for old folks like me,
it's
and
already
my
out there.
still
Brent's
very
definitely
young
not
wife.
he's definitely not hitting the button there. He's letting that one go.
That's right.
Letting that
It's
one
too
go.
late.
We just go on down to the store and get it, and waste who knows how much gas.
Go down to the general store.
Down to the general
They
store.
sell
That's
everything
right.
there, folks.
Oh, look, it's
They sell-
unflappable egg. Come
They
on
sell
in.
candy, guns, flour. We go to the general store and we get it all.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness!
All right.
But this ring that's been busted there on the East Coast, they had turned it into a business because
Yeah,
they were getting
really.
these cell phones and electronics, and then taking them to a warehouse, and then taking pictures of them, and then selling them all over the world.
So this wasn't people. We've all seen videos of people riding behind the UPS truck, and when they drop off the package, they jump out.
Yeah.
This wasn't just members of the neighborhood
No.
doing this. This is a racket, a ring.
This is yes, it was fairly sophisticated. Like I said, they were tracking packages, and the moment they were dropped off, they were picking them up, taking them to this warehouse, and then reselling them all over the world. So this was big business. So this is the kind of thing that's going on, and the authorities on the East Coast are saying this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
This is happening on a very grand scale.
Yeah, folks, you got to protect yourselves out there, and it's getting more and more perilous. So just be careful especially around the holidays. We tell our employees too. There are certain precautions you can take to protect yourself. Nothing is ever certain, but there's things you can do.
I'll tell you one thing you can do. You just don't order off Amazon.
That's right.
Just go on down to the general
Look to your
store.
local general store.
Oh, Ed. Oh, Ed. Go down to the general store. Right?
All right.
I like it.
Well, just to move on, there is a bit of bright light today, it appears, on the Ukraine-Russia front. There's a lot of people talking in very optimistic tones. And this all started back about 10 days ago. You remember the 28-point plan, I think, was the Trump administration released. They thought was a pretty good plan to try to bring this horrible war to an end. Well, there are a lot of meetings going on right now in Geneva. There is an envoy from the Trump administration apparently meeting with the Russians in Moscow. The NATO nations, their heads are meeting on this. Want to hear from national security analyst Rebecca Grant. And she says Team Trump is close to solving the war in Ukraine. Cut number 3.
Putin has a taste for war. Witkoff has traveled to Moscow before. But I've got to tell you, this time, thanks to Team Trump, I think peace is on the way for Ukraine. This war needs to end for America's sake, too. It's unleashed geopolitical chaos with China, Russia, North Korea, and it's a humanitarian disaster. Best part of these talks so far, prosperity for Ukraine under a lot of the terms of this deal being negotiated.
Yeah, this is good news. I hope that this moves forward. I am, I'll say it, cautiously optimistic. All right, we've been to this point a few times. It feels like we've had a few of these good reports or promising reports, only for it to be to fall apart and roll back. But this seems like it's headed in the right direction. Ed, it sounds like from the comments I've heard Trump make concerning this new deal and what's required of Zelensky before he'll even meet with him. I believe Trump said that he wants Zelensky to have signed the agreement, Fred, if I'm wrong, before he'll agree to meet with Zelensky back at the White House.
At the White House. Yeah.
So with some of this more firm language, do you think that this is actually going to go through, or is this maybe just another not head fake, but something else that might fall apart? What do you think?
Well, I'm with you. I think I'm cautiously optimistic. I think the fact that we have kind of come to this point on a number of occasions previously, and then President Trump has been burned. Mm-hmm. I think that explains why the president has said he'd be happy to meet with Putin and Zelensky, but only if the deal's been signed, because he does not want to make it appear as if he's, like you said, head faked. And Putin has been, one of the ones who has made it look like he was ready to make a deal, and then unleashed another series of more bombings in Kyiv and other places. So I'm like everybody else, cautiously optimistic. I feel bad for the Ukrainians, and peace is going to come at a pretty big price for them, just like the war has caused a lot of death and destruction. They're probably going to lose a good part of the eastern part of their own country, very important, economically important part in terms of minerals and food production. They're probably going to have to surrender that, but I'm not sure what the alternatives are and if the West will come in and help Ukraine recover. They can, hope for the best, I guess.
Yeah, this is. I think there's going to be a few points that they're going to want to renegotiate on, or whatever Ukraine agrees to. Some of the more outrageous demands, I think, will probably be tapered back, like the reduction of the Ukrainian military. Points like the promise that they'll never be a member of NATO. I don't know, where those land up, where those points will end up. Maybe they'll agree to it, maybe they won't. But hopefully we have some form of peace on the horizon, because there's just a lot of people suffering in this. When we come back, we'll have more news, more stories to talk about. You're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildmon.
For whoever would save his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake, he will save it. James White, 44, thought his civilian job at McClellan Air Force Base was a waste of time and money, doing the opposite of what most folks would have done. Mr. White took pencil and paper in hand and began to write a suggestion for the suggestion box. He told the U.S. government that the abolishment of his position as an inventory management specialist was in the best interest of all concerned. Now, that's something the average fellow wouldn't do. The average fellow would try to hang on as long as possible, but then Mr. White wasn't an average fellow. The suggestion bounced through bureaucratic channels for several months until it finally reached the Air Force Logistics Command at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. And along the way, no doubt caused many an eyebrow to be raised and perhaps caused many a chuckle to boot. At Wright-Patterson, someone appreciated his idea and agreed with him. So in a short time, White's job was scrapped. There was no longer an opening for an inventory management specialist. There's an old law which says that one has to lose himself to find himself. Mr. White's actions were an example of that law being put into practice. He considered the job an unnecessary burden on the taxpayers. He saw a better way of getting the job done, and he was willing to risk his source of livelihood for the betterment of his employer. He'd gotten self out of the way and put a desire to do what was best above himself. All of us could benefit from such an example, for many of us have never lost ourselves. We think of ourselves as the number one player in this game of life, and our thoughts hardly ever go beyond ourselves. We would seldom think there would be a better way of doing what we're doing, and certainly would not suggest it if there were. We might lose what we're doing. One day, years ago now, Carpenter told some friends of his that if they would lose themselves, they could find themselves. In fact, he said one could never find his true self until he had lost himself. And he went on to say that the person who was continually looking out for old number one would inevitably lose what he did have. The principle is true not only in religion, but in the whole of life. When you're willing to lose, then you're ready to find. And I guess many of us are concerned about James White. We nearly always worry over those who lose themselves in service to others, but we shouldn't. It's true, White lost his job as inventory management specialist, but he got a check for $1,000 for his suggestion and was promoted to supervisor. He lost himself to find himself and a better job. You know, truth is truth in whatever area you find it.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildmon, a production of the American Family Association.
As it is written, what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no human mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love him. 1 Corinthians 2, verse 9.
American Family Radio. This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Welcome back to Today's Issues on American Family Radio. You can listen to us in your car. If you have a radio station nearby, you can listen to us on afr.net. And you can also listen to us on the AFR app, available on all major app stores. So multiple ways to listen to us. I'm Tony Vitagliano, sitting in for Tim Wildmon. In the studio with me is Ed Vitagliano. To my right and to my left is Fred Jackson. And tuning in over Zoom land is Dr. Ray Pritchard. Now, Ray, I found out, I didn't know this, but I was informed that you actually taught in Ukraine for several years. So how long did you teach over there?
We were there twice, in 2016 and 2018. Of course, which means a few years before this awful war broke out. But even back then, Tony, we were about 10 hours from, or 12 hours from where the fighting has been for the most part over the last couple of years. And everybody knew, I mean, there was a sense of heaviness with the student body and the staff, because everybody knew, Tony, this was going to happen, that Russia was going to move in, that Putin was going to find an excuse. And even when we were there with those wonderful students, they came from all over the former USSR. We taught in Russian, and I taught through a translator. Wonderful. They're some of the bravest and strongest Christian young people I've ever been around. So, I look at, our discussion just before the break and agree totally with what you and Ed both said. Where's the devil at a moment like this? He's where he always is. He's in the details, right? The devil is down in the details, and we don't know. The details of this deal haven't been agreed to yet. But, yeah, I think it's obvious Ukraine's going to have to give up some territory in the east to the Russians. That's just probably no other way to do it. But I join you in saying, for the sake of my Christian friends, our Christian friends, the evangelical community in Ukraine is not small.
Right.
It's strong and it's growing. For the sake of our Christian friends over there and for the safety of everybody, we pray that this horrible war will come to an end soon.
Amen. Yeah, I think that's a perspective in the West, in America, with Western media. We don't get a lot of the perspective of actual Ukrainians, actual people who have lived there, or like your perspective from someone who has lived among them. That's just not something we get a lot. We don't get how they feel about it, what they think about the war, what they thought about it beforehand. So it is helpful. I wish we got more of that, because it would maybe help people develop here in the West, develop a proper understanding of what this conflict, first of all, the cost of the conflict, in human life, in financial terms, and then understand the whole picture, rather than it being, we have to defeat Russia at any cost, or we need to take our hands out of it. Getting a perspective from people who live there and live in that situation would help. It would help me I know, develop a more whole understanding of what's going on.
Among those students that we taught and among the faculty members there at Word of Life Bible Institute outside Kyiv, every single one of them, without any exception, either has lost someone in their family or their close friend lost in this war, homes destroyed.
Yeah.
War is awful. You know, we watch it. We watch it from our side over here, and from the comfort of your living room, you can cheer for one side or the other, but on the ground, it is a horrific event. And I pray to God that this peace, who knows? We shall see, right? I think, Ed, you said it. The president's been burned a couple times. Not really his fault that the Russians have continued to attack and Ukrainians have fought back. We pray this time there'll be peace and it will last.
Well, I just as one last comment for me anyway. I've mentioned this before that when the Cold War was ongoing, when the Soviet Union was in existence, and its satellite countries, part of the Warsaw Pact, you had the United States and NATO. I remember reading, this is way back when I was a political science major at Boston College, one of the professors there saying that there was a grimness to the Cold War in West Germany because they used to say the United States is certainly willing to go to war against the Soviet Union and fight to the last West German. Mm-hmm. And there is a sense in which the people in the West, in Europe, and some in the United States who want this conflict to continue, have that same perspective. We'll fight the Russians to the last Ukrainian. Over here, we're not sacrificing our sons on the front line, and it's a lot easier to say that when you've got no skin in the game.
Well, the Germans will send weapons, and they've got a lot of advanced weapons, and the Polish folks will too, and from England, a lot of weapons will come in, but you don't see a lot of Western European nations putting boots on the ground in Ukraine for exactly that reason.
And Putin bet on that when he invaded.
Yep.
Yes.
So,
all right, Fred, let's keep on going.
Keep on going. Well, it was learned yesterday that the FBI has opened investigations to all 6 of those Democrats that made that very controversial video with regards to, I would say, the attempt by those Democrats to undermine the authority of the president. Is that an overstatement?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a video of them saying Merry Christmas and Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
it was.
Now they say they qualified
serious.
it, that our members, our troops do not have to follow illegal orders. But a lot of people are saying, why in the world would you put that out there? Yeah. And some of them, they haven't been able to name any illegal orders.
Right.
That's the other thing. So it's,
and they've been asked.
And when asked about it, well, I can't think of any illegal orders.
Right.
Eric Swalwell.
Great guy.
Democrat
guy.
We're big fans around here.
Yeah. Democrat from California, who, by the way, announced recently he plans to run for governor of that state, taking on maybe Kamala Harris. Who knows? There's a pair for you.
Battle of Titans.
oh, brother.
A battle.
They
battle
raise
of
the median. Raise the median IQ when those two are in the room.
Oh, brother.
But Eric Swalwell, anyway, I guess felt he had to get in on this, although he wasn't obviously one of the 6 Democrats who are all ex-military. Anyway, he was on with Don Lemon in a podcast, and the audio quality here isn't great. But here we go again. He says service members have told him all the time that they will not obey the president. Cut number 9.
And I talk to, service members all the time, and they tell me that I don't appreciate enough, and the public doesn't appreciate enough, that while Congress is not a check on the president anymore, and the judiciary at the Supreme Court is hardly a check, military members have told me we can be a check in full order. And so they're essentially saying we're not going to betray our oath to the Constitution because this guy tells us to.
Yeah, I'm always skeptical and even some of these 6 have said they have military people telling them that they're worried about the president, and there you have Swalwell saying, they're coming to me all the time and saying that they can be a check and a balance. I'm skeptical of the integrity.
Yeah, it sounds a little anecdotal. And listen, I'm just going to say it. Swalwell should probably sit this one out. You don't need any other.
Why, Tony?
Well, he's had. Let's just say. He
had a girlfriend.
Yes, he had a girlfriend who happened to be a Chinese spy. So
a commie.
I would just cool it a little bit on the seditious light talk. If you've already, kind of been exposed as having possible run-ins with bad actors who are not fans of America, I probably wouldn't be out putting myself out there. And Ed, I am also, like Fred, a little skeptical of all these friends and people just coming up to them. Politicians have a habit of doing this where I talk to people all the time. Mom Donnie, I'm sure, has talked to people all the time. I've talked to millionaires and billionaires who are okay with it. Just the anecdotal people I've talked to have said that they agree with me in this, and they agree with us on this.
Yeah, there's over 1.33 million active duty U.S. personnel. There's even more than that when you include reserves, almost 3 million when you include civilians who work with the military. That's a lot of people. And then when you say, I have members of the military come up to me all the time, well, we're just talking about handfuls out of that number.
Right.
But the point that Swalwell is making, he's trying to make it appear as if the majority of the members of the military, and I'm sure both sides do this kind of thing, okay? However, I would even shrink the number even more by saying, well, I doubt members of the military who think that you, Eric Swalwell, are a traitor to your country, are going to come up and get into this kind of discussion with you. So to me, what this video was doing and what the intent of this video was to prime the pump.
Yep.
Was to get members of the military thinking about personally deciding what an unlawful action, an unlawful order was, and then not to obey it. And that's why we said on the show, members of the military who are considering that better remember, Swalwell's not going to prison.
Yes.
If you do that, you are.
Exactly.
And there is a procedure in place within the military if you're dealing with what you perceive to be an unlawful order. So I don't. If the roles were reversed, I'm sure Democrats would be screaming bloody
100%.
murder, saying that the Republicans who released this video, they're wanting the military to perform a coup. That's what they would be saying.
Well, and they're going to turn around with, because the FBI is investigating.
Yes.
Okay, so now what they're going to do, this is what the Democrats will do. They'll turn around and say, see, this is weaponization of the Department of Justice. We're just out here advocating for our military, speaking out. We're just speaking out against the fascist and dictator Trump, and now he's sicking his Department of Justice, which I'm laughing just even saying that because we've literally had 4 years of a previous president having the Department of Justice sicked on him. But that's what they're gonna paint it as. Ray?
I have a question about this. Behind this, does this all go back to the Venezuela? I mean, is this?
You mean what is the unlawful order?
That's right. Is this have to do with? Are we going to overthrow Maduro?
I think this thinking began with Trump's use of the National Guard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going into cities to try to tamp down some of the out of control crime. But to your point, I'm sure it's across the board. Anytime Trump uses the military, he's going to be accused of using them unlawful in issuing unlawful orders. But that's part of the sneakiness of releasing videos like this.
Right.
They can always say, "Oh man, we didn't tell them to try to perform a coup. We were just talking about actual."
I didn't know it was that Epstein.
Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't. We didn't know. I wasn't talking necessarily about that Epstein. Yeah, Fred.
If I had an opportunity to interview any of these 6 Democrats, I would like to ask them, back there several years ago when our members of the military were being forced to take an experimental drug or be booted out of the military.
Right.
Did you speak up on behalf of those military people that you say you're so concerned about?
Right.
Yeah.
And if I was a betting man, I would say there was silence amongst those Democrats.
Which was an actual unconstitutional order, a violation of their First Amendment rights.
Yes.
Forcing them to take a vaccine that they didn't want to.
Even for religious exemptions.
Even for religious exemptions.
Some of those
That's
military
right.
people, for religious exemptions, they said because some of the vaccines might contain portions of babies that were aborted.
Right.
Remember that issue came up as part of this? No, the Democrats weren't listening to that at all.
Absolutely
But that is part of the way the game is played, and in my opinion, mostly from the left. But I don't think anybody escapes unscathed here. But part of the way the game is played is you color the issue the way you want, and under certain different circumstances, we may actually come across as contradicting ourselves, but it's only because from the left we get cover from the news media. And when you have individuals who are questioned, and sometimes here the last couple of years, or certainly since the 2024 election results, you do see sometimes members of the news media pressing Democrats. I'm thinking of one recently, but also Nancy Pelosi here not too long ago. Democrats don't know what to do because they're not usually challenged on it. Anyway, this is the way the game is played, and this is why our founders said the republic depends on an educated electorate. The people have to understand the issues so that they can see through the pretense when politicians do political things.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. Fred?
All right. Put your hand up. Have you ever heard of...
A lot of raising
Again?
hands.
Wow.
Yeah. Ray's already
already raised our
Know the
hand.
question.
No question.
All right. How many have heard the phrase that we're headed towards a cashless society?
Oh, yeah.
And how many are concerned about that? A cashless society. Well,
Hand raised.
the good folks in Ohio are obviously very concerned too. There's a new bill being proposed in Ohio that would transform the way businesses carry out transactions and offer a lifeline to Americans who still prefer to use cash when shopping. I have noticed lately in various stores, well-known grocery stores, retail stores, etc., that often there are machines that say card only, card only. Well, this bill in Ohio being considered there would require businesses to provide at least 1 point of sale that accepts cash for transactions under $500. And there is a lot of concern about this. It's part, they say, the Cash Act is part of a growing movement nationwide to guarantee consumers the right to pay in cash as more retailers and institutions shift to cashless operations. In fact, according to Pew Research, 14% of Americans reported using cash for almost all or most of their transactions in 2022, while 41% said they never use cash. So, why would it be important? We'll ask the panel here. Why would it be important to maintain the right to use cash?
So, I'm a little bit of a hypocrite here because I almost never have cash with me.
Well, that's because you're married and have 5 kids. That's part of the reason.
That does factor into
the walking poor.
100%. That is a factor. However, even if there was, I rarely carry it with me. But I never want to give up the ability to be able to use cash if I wanted to or needed to. Cash is, when you use cash for a transaction, the government and any parties who would love to track information and data on you, there's next to no information in a cash transaction. I just hand you cash, even at the store, I hand you cash and I get a can of cranberry sauce. And there's nothing else there to track information on me, where that money came from. It's just a blank transaction. So I think the danger of going towards a cashless society is that all that information and all that data is just it would be an authoritarian government's dream to be able to see where every penny of your paycheck goes, where where it went, what it was spent on. That's what I would do if I was wanted to work towards a system like something like what they have in China. A social credit score system. That's one step closer to that, in my opinion. Ed?
No, I absolutely agree. There are obviously advantages to using a debit card or a credit card. In that
convenience.
It's convenient.
Yeah.
You don't have to carry a lot of cash. You're not caught without it. We open the wallet up, and I discover that my wife has taken the cash. Oh, whoops.
The grandkids came and cleaned out your drawer of quarters.
Well, they do on a regular basis. Happy to do that. But while there is that convenience, what we're talking about is choice.
Right.
And having the option. There are some places around the community that my wife and I live in where they charge you 3.5% to use a debit card. Mm-hmm. And so we use cash there. But the basic point of this whole discussion is what you just said, Tony, and that is a cashless society is an instrument of control.
Yeah.
And if we've learned anything, you can't trust the government. I don't care who's in charge of it. Because even if you have a Republican like President Trump at the top of the executive branch, the government, quote unquote, is filled with bureaucrats who can cause your life misery. And then when your party is out, then the other party comes in, and then the amount of control increases. And that is abhorrent to me. I don't even like what Canada's done. Fred, you mentioned that they have begun replacing paper bills with coins, which is kind of a novelty, but nobody's going to want to carry 20 coins, right. $21 coins in their pocket. They're going to stop using money altogether, and they're going to go to debit cards, which in my mind is a government scheme to increase the amount of control on people. So I don't like it. I love what Ohio's doing. I hope that law passes. I hope it spreads in red states, and I hope eventually we amend the Constitution and say you cannot ever get rid of cash as an option.
Ray? Ray, you live in the great free state of Florida. Would you like to see something similar to the law that Ohio is putting into place in Florida?
To the whole question of cash, boys, I'm holding up. When you started talking, I pulled the cash out of my wallet here. And counted it. I am dismayed to say I have a grand total of $9. $9.
I'm jealous.
Will that even get a cup of coffee at Starbucks?
Probably not.
Probably not. I probably certainly not going to go eat lunch with it. And just yesterday, I don't know where I was. I was at some store. It was $5.70. I could cover that with the $9.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
But what did I do? Ed? I pulled out the plastic because my pocket's full of change, and I put the plastic in there. It's really dumb to do that, but I did it. So having said that, I think I'm fine if Florida passes the law. I hope it passes up in Ohio. But I think the real lesson here, and we ought to think about this, is that people talk about conspiracy, but we're moving toward total control of the world economy,
Yeah.
right? We've quoted Revelation 13 many times here, right? This is all just leading in that direction. And I would say my application of this is to all of our listeners, in the days to come, we are all going to need portable wealth.
Yeah.
Portable wealth. If you're a gazillionaire, whatever that is, and your money is all digital, somebody flips the switch, you can't get to your gazillion dollars.
Or if the power goes out, so to
or
speak.
the power goes out. That's right. So there's a lot to be said for a cash economy, and we should all try to do better than $9, friends. That's really all I'm saying.
Yeah. You know what? This was really brought home to me back a few years ago when Justin Trudeau was Prime Minister of Canada. You remember the big trucking protests?
Yes. During COVID, right?
During COVID. Yeah. And the tool that he used to bring that to a stop was, we're going to freeze your bank accounts.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you don't have any cash, folks, you're done, because that's what the government can do to you. It can use its force. And can you imagine if you got $20 in your wallet and all of a sudden the government says, we're freezing your accounts?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How far are you going to go with $20?
And that is meant to bend your will.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Well, and cash goes around that. So people who wanted to support the truckers, if I went and handed them $200 cash, well, then Trudeau and his authoritarian government would have no idea where it came from or what they were going to do with it. And so, cash is a way to get around that type of control. So hopefully this passes in Ohio and other states follow suit, and maybe we can even get this codified as being something more permanent. When we come back, we got Steve Jordahl and more news for you.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
It's been proven again and again and again.
Bert Harper.
The verification of the dates, the verification of the genealogies, it puts spiritual iron in my spiritual blood to know that we can depend upon the Word of God.
Exploring the Word, weekday afternoons at 3 Central on American Family Radio. This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. Several men are charged with attacking a homeless person in Chicago. Mike Tobin reporting from the streets of Chicago.
3 Venezuelan kids, or young men, as one is being charged as an adult, are accused of randomly selecting a homeless man and stabbing him in cold blood and murdering him, as well as robbing him. It was here in Chicago's Loop Sunday morning as the sun was coming up. According to the detention proffer, the 3 Venezuelans happened upon the 49-year-old man sleeping on the street. One stole a knick-knack, a skeleton mask the homeless man kept with him. Another beat him with a rod, and a third, identified as Winiker Rodriguez Vasquez, according to the proffer, stabbed the man in the back and killed him. This happened just days after the city tree lighting ceremony erupted in gunfire. 7 people ages 13 to 17 were wounded.
The New York Times sparked intense debate Monday with its story of an illegal alien who stole an American's identity and ruined his life. The Times published a lengthy report called 2 Men, 1 Identity, They Both Paid the Price, on the nightmarish plight of a Minnesota man, Daniel Clover, whose identity was stolen by an illegal alien from Guatemala, Ramiro Perez Bravo. The victim, Clover, endured years of IRS fines and even garnished paychecks as the man assuming his identity earned incomes in other states that pushed the real Clover into an improper tax bracket. Brianna Lyman with The Federalist says there's a disturbing trend among the propaganda press where they try to humanize these violent criminal illegal aliens and portray them as the victims.
And they do it for one purpose and one purpose only. They want to guilt Americans out of their God-given right to sovereignty, to their borders, and to their laws. And let me explain how. It's not just this New York Times story. The New Yorker has a glowing expose this week out about a Jamaican national who's been living here illegally for 50 years and also murdered someone. He has an order of removal, and yet they described him as a Jamaican national who was shackled and thrown on a plane and sent out of here, and compared him to enslaved black Americans. You had the Kilmar Abrego Garcia, an alleged human smuggler and wife beater who was really just actually a Maryland father and a sympathetic dad, right? So the purpose of all these stories is if Americans can be taught to sympathize with the worst of the worst, murderers, repeat offenders, then it becomes a lot easier for the propaganda press to gin up opposition when illegal aliens who have not committed violent crimes are getting deported. So they're
A retired Army general says the Russia-Ukraine peace plan being brokered by President Trump hinges on security guarantees.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been in Geneva leading the U.S. effort to try to bring about an end to the 4-year-old war. Rubio says some progress has been made.
It is probably the most productive day we have had on this issue, maybe in the entirety of our engagement, but certainly in a very long time. But work remains, and because this continues to be a working process, I don't want to declare victory or finality here. There's still some work to be done, but we are much further ahead today at this time than we were when we began this morning and where we were a week ago for certain.
Retired Air Force Brigadier General John Teichert is a former Assistant Deputy Undersecretary of the Air Force for International Affairs. During an appearance on Washington Watch, he said, "For the last 2 years, we have been witnessing a stalemate.
Russia has been taking some territory, but something like 1% of its overall gains only in the last 2 years, which mean that there has been a lot of bloodshed for very little gain."
Teichert says this agreement hinges on security guarantees.
We've got to assume that Russia and Putin specifically are going to lie and are going to cheat. And unless we have ironclad security guarantees, then it just sets us up for the further phase of this conflict down the road. And what I've been hearing about this abbreviated plan is that it's a lot heftier on U.S. and European security guarantees, again, to hedge against the likelihood that Putin's going to lie and Putin's going to cheat going forward.
I'm Chad Groening.
6 Democratic lawmakers who appeared in a video posted to social media telling troops they have the power to refuse orders are now being approached by federal investigators. Advisor to the president, Stephen Miller.
They should be held accountable under the law and under the Uniform Code of Military Justice for a seditious conspiracy against the United States of America.
More news available online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty Pugh.
I hope you're sitting down for this. George Barna's Cultural Research Center found only 13% of born-again Christians have a biblical worldview. That means there's a huge lack of biblical life essentials in our country. AFA is committed to helping churches ignite a hunger for God. You can be part of that with your gift today, and we'll send you Dr. Alex McFarland's DVD, Do Christians Have Permission to Edit Scripture? Visit afa.net/biblical. afa.net/biblical.
Today's Issues continues on AFR.
Welcome back to Today's Issues. I am Tony Battagliano, filling in for Tim Wildmon, who's out this week. In studio with me, I've got Ed Battagliano, and in the great state of Florida, we have Ray Pritchard tuning in from Zoom land. And now in the studio, we have Steve Paisley-Jordahl. Welcome, Steve.
I thank you. It's good to be here. Glad to be with you all.
Glad you're here with us.
I didn't get an adjective though.
I used it yesterday. That's what it was. I've got my notes because I'm terrified of being stuck without saying anything. So I've got some notes basically planned out here, and I have your adjective there, and I ended up using it yesterday.
You could call me sardonically splendorific.
Sardonically.
The stupendous.
Now, sardonically,
Steve Jordahl.
that means, doesn't that mean like sarcastic?
No, that's sarcastically.
Oh,
sardonically is something different.
Well, we'll go with stupendous. There we go. That one just came to me. Stupendous.
That works.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that one is not an insult, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't get those mixed up. Well, Steve.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure there are other things to talk about.
No,
in the news.
you guys covered the whole gamut of all the news.
Everything.
All right,
so we can talk
done. All
hockey,
well,
right?
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'll see you folks later.
Let's go to the house.
Yeah. All right. Why don't we start here? We have had we've been talking about AI for quite a while.
We have, yep.
And Monday, the president has launched what he is calling the Genesis mission. And to say that this is a big deal, I think, is selling it short. He says in his executive order, he compares this to the Manhattan Project.
Mm-hmm.
And others have compared it to the Apollo mission. It's the moonshot. This
Right.
is the big deal. What he's doing is he is organizing America's artificial intelligence resources. Private companies are going to be helping out, all the government research, all the colleges, and those kind of things. And they're going to be basically pushing and pulling in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose is to unleash, I'm reading from the executive order, a new age of AI-accelerated innovation and discovery that can solve the most challenging problems of the century. And frankly, they're doing it because they're afraid that the Chinese might beat us to the punch.
Bingo. Yeah, I think this is wise to work with these private companies. You know, you've got some of these tech giants like Google, NVIDIA, Microsoft, OpenAI, to work with these companies, pull them together, and use their research, and backed by the resources of the United States. The Department of Energy is a big backer of
they're
this.
driving
They're
this.
driving it, yeah. So using our resources to basically beat China in the AI race. I mean, you mentioned the space race. That was our accelerated attempt to beat. We wanted to beat the Soviets into space, right? We wanted to beat them there.
Well, they beat us into space. We wanted to beat them to the moon.
To the moon, yes. Thank you. So this is our space race.
I think a lot of people kind of view this as like I'm pulling for the Cowboys over the Redskins or something like that. It's way more important than this, because whoever controls and gets the jump on AI gets to set the rules for globally.
That's right.
And it also, it's not, we think of AI as kind of the ChatGPT you ask it. It's a nice little fun toy to play with, right? But it's more than that. AI is going to be useful in all kinds of things, from medicine to military. And the military is where a lot of people have concern. I talked to Colonel Bob McGinnis, who most of us know as a Pentagon analyst who's a good foreign policy, military kind of voice, but he has been writing on artificial intelligence. He has his first book that's already been published. It's called AI for Mankind's Future. He's got two more, and these books, this one deals with AI as it is now and everything, but these books are moving toward the theological implications of artificial intelligence. How do we deal as a church? What happens? Anyway, I did talk to him, and this is what he had to say about this moonshot Genesis mission, cut 14.
AI-driven scientific discovery has grave national security implications, as well as the U.S. technological leadership across the world. The intent is to really respond to what the Chinese are doing with their civil-military fusion projects on all technologies, especially artificial intelligence. It's going to help us to write. It's going to help our medical community. It's going to help education. It's going to help retail. We're going to have the Alexas, but the Alexa is going to keep getting smarter. I do believe that we will eventually get to something like artificial general intelligence, which is smarter than we are, and we can harness it.
Yeah, that last is a profound hope.
We have a ways,
harnessing
still have a ways to go.
It's already smarter than we are, right?
Yeah. Ed, what do you think about Bob McGinnis's comments? Do you think there are Do you think there are more benefits than drawbacks as we keep pressing forward in the AI race, or what do you think this kind of shakes out?
I think it's going to be like technology has always been, especially the last 100 years, and especially maybe the last 25 or so. But certainly, like when we use the example of the Manhattan Project, nuclear weapons, we had to get nuclear weapons. Well, the Nazis were working on it. We got their scientists. And then we beat the Soviets too, but the Soviets got it, and now there's half dozen nations, maybe more, that have nuclear weapons. But there was also nuclear energy, and so when you have new developments in technology, you can go down maybe multiple paths. Some are good, some are bad. I think that there's great potential for AI. And the thing is about technological innovation, you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Right.
You've got to figure out a way to live with the technological jump that has occurred, because you've got countries like China that are jumping into the research and are going to get there. And so you want to make sure, same thing in space with with anti-satellite missiles. It's one thing to put a satellite up. What if the Chinese start knocking them down?
It's always measure, countermeasure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would just toss in, we don't have to go down this path necessarily, but when you mentioned, Steve, theological implications. So yesterday, Steve, we've been kidding around about this, but you asked AI, some program, to create a song about Ed Vitagliano,
right?
Using all the Italian tropes you could think of.
That's what I said. That was the prompt. Yes.
So I was playing this for my wife. I sent it to my sisters. It was hilarious. Okay, but I told my wife Diane. I said, and I told my sisters this. I said, the top song on the country charts was AI generated, and my wife said, "What about?" Do you think churches will ever use AI-produced worship songs? And I thought, that sounds demonic. You want, and the intent is for human beings to work with the Spirit of God and rely on the giftings of the Holy Spirit to create songs that give praise to God. You can't turn that over to AI, but these are the kinds of questions we're all going to have to ask.
And that's what Bob is chasing. And Ray, I kind of wanted to ask you, because we've been comparing this to the Manhattan Project and to the space launch. Maybe the Tower of Babel would be a good comparison.
That's good, Steve.
Yeah. And how did that work out?
Yeah,
right. I mean, it looked so good. That was such a nice thing they built there, right?
Yes.
I mean, for a while there, it gave us so much hope. Well, Steve, what do you think about the music of this fella, Solomon Ray?
Fella in quotes.
Right. Explain what that is.
Solomon Ray. You mentioned the country charts. This guy, the country chart was a specific chart which was kind of astroturf. They put money. It's how many downloads were bought.
Right.
No one buys downloads, so somebody decided to pay about $3,000 so that they could hit the top of this chart.
Okay.
However, there is Solomon Ray, who is an AI-generated artist and album that is now topping the
gospel
charts, and these are the main charts.
Right.
And Ed has the question, which is, can a machine write a spirit-filled song? It has every single hymn and praise song and Christian contemporary song that's ever been written. And it looks at all those. It looks at the turns of phrases. It has a way to weight words and meanings. And it can put together something that for all the world looks like, a theologically, sound song. It looks like a Christian song. Now, ChatGPT or these apps at this point are making a whole lot of errors. So you have to, I would say that you might be able to tell if the theology is really squirrely. It's either, an Episcopalian song or it's AI.
Well, here we go.
But
they deserve that comment.
But it's going to get better and everything. So
So this guy has a picture, right? This Solomon Ray
Yeah.
has a picture. I mean, he's a nice-looking guy.
Is he in a
friendly.
dress?
You know, this is according to he has a Spotify profile.
Yeah.
I mean, this AI-generated singer who exists only inside the computer's brain, or however you want to say that, but his music is shot to the top of the Christian charts, and the Spotify profile calls him, quote, a Mississippi-made soul singer carrying a Southern soul revival into the present. And that's pretty cool, right? And you look at the picture. If you just, what I'm saying is, this is really good stuff. I mean, good in the sense of, oh man,
It's catchy.
Oh, man.
It's
Yes.
Well, let me just toss something out. I know we don't have to spend more time on this.
This is good.
But I do like these kinds of conversations. This question about, I mean, the way you put it, can an AI program, I guess program is the right way to say it, right? A program
application
create a spirit-filled song. You know, we are going to get to the place where robotics combined with AI and combined with other technologies are going to produce what looks like real people.
Yeah.
Okay? And there's some question about whether guys who can't get girlfriends are going to date robots.
Well, they're already falling in love with the ChatGPT. Thing right here.
So you start going to the heart of what it means to be human.
Right.
And what it means to have relationships, and in this case, what it means to actually worship God and the source. Listen, you remember back when Christian rock hit the scenes with the Jesus people, and to this day, you have people who say, "No, you got a drum set and a electric guitar and a bass. That is not worship music.
Right.
You got to X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
You already have those arguments. Now, what if AI or AI creates a sermon?
Yeah, well, and let me put this into the mix, too, because there's been several artists who, let's just say real true artists who were not who they said they were.
Like Milli Vanilli or something?
Well,
kind of
no,
thing?
I mean like artists who proposed to be Christian, but their lives turned out to be not,
sure.
So bad or evil people who posed at some point. I was listening to a podcast that talked about this guy that said he was a Satanist and became a Christian comedian and everything. But so we already
I know
have,
you're talking about.
Yeah, we already have songs that were written. When they were written, we all used them as worship songs, and then the guy that wrote them turned out to be not who he said or she said she was.
Right.
Does that take away? Now is the song invalid? And so does that port over to this whole discussion?
That's part of the debate over Hillsong's worship songs, and some of those groups, people say, well, I don't like the theology of that church, and others say, well, the music really brings me into a place of worship. Let me just toss this out, and then I don't want to talk about it necessarily, but what about if you can't find a pastor? You have an AI person on screen. You already have multi-campus churches where the pastor's on screen preaching an AI-generated sermon.
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of bizarro world, but can you be ministered to by the Word of God preached by a quote-unquote pastor who doesn't really exist?
I don't know, but if you accept Christ under that, when you die, you go to the metaverse, not to heaven. So.
Ray, help us navigate some of this. How should Christians approach
We're just on the
this?
front end of this, Tony. We're just on the front. I mean, and it's coming to us like a tidal wave.
It is.
Right? It's coming at us so fast. It's hard to know how to answer some of these questions. But I will tell you this. Let me throw this out to the panel. I was doing some.
So you're not going to
research.
answer anything. You're just going to throw out questions.
It's bringing so many questions, but I'm going to throw a few more out there. Yeah,
I'm going to throw another one out there just to muddy the water even further. The two places I go to chat, and then I go to Grok, which is the Twitter version, right? And I was talking to Grok, I guess, and this was some months ago, but I was working on a sermon series on Genesis 4 and 5, and I find it very interesting to to use a bot, I guess is what you call it. Use Grok and say, okay, what did Martin Luther have to say about this passage? What did John Calvin have to say? I mean, you can get unbelievable amount of information really, really fast. And also, I found Grok's good for sermon titles. Very, very. I spend a lot of time thinking about my sermon titles, and Grok will come up with a dozen in a millisecond. And so I said, well, I'm going down here. As a matter, I was coming down here to Florida, Word of Life, Florida, to speak on this in the spring, and I've been going back and back and forth, typing my questions in and getting the answers. And at the end, Grok said, Ray, it's going to be great, going to do fine. And I guess they kind of programmed those bots to be very encouraging. You're going to be fine. People are going to love it.
You're doing awesome.
You're doing, that's right.
Yeah.
It's very affirming, right?
Yeah.
And at the end it said, Grok said, I'm going to be praying for you.
Oh, no.
No, are you kidding?
No. Yes, that's exactly right. That is exactly right.
That's bizarre.
So
to whom?
Yeah. So
how? I don't know.
Our Elon who art in heaven.
I think with AI, Christians are going to have to, as we have had to for centuries, we're going to have to rely, as it sounds Sunday schoolish and cliche, you're going to have to rely on the Word of God.
Mm-hmm.
Christians are going to have to be devoted to searching the Scriptures for themselves. So if you think about it, we've had similar, you mentioned like the AI pastor, or you go into, consulting AI for Christian counsel, or AI producing Christian worship songs. We've had these, I feel like we've had these moments of transition in different eras already as Christians, and I'll just use a few here in America. So shifting from smaller congregations, smaller communities to larger churches, mega churches, led by one person, the pastor, and that is not necessarily the model that was laid out in the New Testament for the early church. So Christians have had to figure out, okay, we have this one person who we're every Sunday listening to in his sermon, and we're, what he's telling us, and we have to decide, will we accept what he tells us wholesale, no questions asked, or will we go and turn to the Scriptures for ourselves to discern and judge what this figurehead is saying, whether it's biblical or not? I think something similar to that is the mindset we're going to have to develop as Christians in dealing with AI. Can you use AI to help you with your sermon? Absolutely. If you go to AI to get a devotional for the day, give me a devotional on, Acts chapter 13. I'm just throwing that out there. And it gives you one. As a Christian, you have the ability to just, you can either accept it wholesale, that what this AI and the people who programmed it is telling you is true, or you can turn to the Scripture and go see for yourself and study for yourself and discern as to whether what it's telling you is in accordance with God's Word or not. I think we're coming up on something similar. Now, there are farther-reaching implications to me, and some of these questions, obviously, I'm not answering 100%, but the Word of God always has to be your foundation. You should always be going back to that, no matter how far the technology advances, no matter if there's an AI Paul that you can go talk to, with a generated face and ask him questions. If that AI Paul starts telling you something that you might not think is biblical, you need to go read the Bible and see what Paul actually said.
Didn't the real Paul actually say something similar? If we or someone else preaches you a gospel that's contrary to this, let them be
That's right.
let them be cursed, or however that played out.
That's
But
right.
check the Scripture. Paul himself, who wrote the Scripture, says check the Scriptures. I also wanted to I know we probably spend the rest of the time on this, but I wanted. Bob and Guinness mentioned something called artificial general intelligence at the end of this. We may be getting there. And it's a definition I think we need to know. Right now, everything AI is a specific task. We give it a task, we ask ChatGPT a question, it gives us the answer to that question. One application might be to diagnose diseases from, that's
Right.
it's a task that specific thing was given, or plan a traffic pattern for a city. It does tasks. Artificial general intelligence has some different features. It will be able to perform any intellectual task a human can, not just those narrow specialized tasks. It can take knowledge learned in one domain and apply it to a completely different domain. It will be able to learn new skills or concepts without being specifically trained for those tasks. It can reason abstractly, solve novel problems, and plan long-term. It can operate in an unfamiliar situation and environment, and it can enhance its own ability over time. That is artificial general intelligence. We're not quite there, at least publicly, but we're getting there. And that's when it becomes smarter than us, and that's when we start wondering who's going to be driving who.
Well, and so with AGI, I mean, some of the more positive aspects I see definitely of these advancements in AI is you could have an AGI who could find a cure for cancer. I mean, to me, that's a positive development from something, because this AI, it's just day in and day out, like you mentioned, referencing across different studies, referencing across different fields, combining all of its combined,
and
reasoning, and it could develop a cure for cancer. To me, that is an example of where a positive direction this could go for sure. So, yeah, I don't want us to be. I'm not trying to, we want to balance scaring people from AI and saying that it's evil and that it's a form of the beast, and we also want to balance encouraging people that there will be positive developments that will come from it.
Every time I interview somebody on this, I ask the same question: are we headed towards a Star Trek world or a Terminator world?
Yeah,
that's a good way of.
That's a good way of viewing it.
I read an article.
What's the answer?
Everybody's.
Ray, give us another question to throw on top of it.
Right.
I read an article just a year or two ago that put this forward. Now, how about this as an idea? They said, if we ever get to the AGI, artificial general intelligence, why do we need politicians?
Hey.
You just ask the computer what we should do about like you mentioned, traffic patterns.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to do all the research. Yep. What do we do about the fishing off the coast within our own borders? And you don't need politicians, because the AGI is going to be smarter and less influenced by money.
A world without
if you ever needed a convincing case on why we need AGI, there's one of them right
movie called
there.
Eagle Eye.
Yes, it's a great movie.
That's a quick way to get politicians to legislate AI out of existence. Yeah. Why do we need you again? Folks, that's all we have time for today. It is Thanksgiving week. We hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving. Remember that we always have something to be thankful for, and that our contentment should flow from our love for Jesus Christ. Thank you for listening, and we have more great programming ahead for you.
Tony, you did a great job this week. I got to say,
praise the Lord. Thank you all.
Bravo.